Hello everyone, welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So today, my name is Samantha and I'm going to talk to you about my compost. Now the thing about my compost is I think it's pretty amazing. I use it to grow my 1/4 acre no-till organic regenerative market garden. However, I've noticed here lately that my compost is very, very dense. It just feels very heavy, like heavier than it should, not as light and fluffy as I would like it. Now, most people know when you're making compost, you are encouraged to add a little bit of your native soil to your compost to kind of inoculate it with the microbes and the fungi that are already present in your soil. Well, for me, that's Louisiana red clay because I am located in Southeast Louisiana in zone 9A, 9B. But what's got me a little stumped is that I can't seem to make it light and fluffy. Now we compost in our chicken coop and our ladies do an amazing job of pulling through, scratching it, turning it, eating all of the bugs out of it. You know, they do a great job. I don't have any weed seeds that come from it. If the compost heat doesn't kill that, the chickens eat it for me. So it's a pretty win-win situation. So today what I'm going to be doing is I've got half a I guess you would call it like a 2 square yard wheelbarrow. I've got half of that filled with used coffee grounds. Now, let's get something straight. Used coffee grounds, all right? Their pH is actually like 6.7, which is basically neutral. And the good thing about coffee grounds are they're so versatile and they can add space in dense compost to like make it more airy, more fluffy. So I'm going to try that. I'm also going to try shredded damp cardboard to like get in between that heaviness and kind of allow maybe a little bit more airflow. So I'm a little unsure other than those two things and possibly adding in some more leaves, what else I can do to make my compost more fluffy. So if you guys have any suggestions, I would love to hear it. If you've had this problem too, please share it with me because when I Googled it, when I looked on YouTube, what I found was wet compost, smelly compost, cold compost, make your compost hot, all these things. What I did not find was heavy compost, you know, dense compost. So this is kind of, I feel like we're like breaking through maybe into a new area where people don't really talk about this. But for me, I need to find a way to make my compost a little less dense. So again, let's go over it. I'm going to use my coffee grounds. I am going to use some leaves and I'm going to use some shredded damp cardboard. I'm going to go into the chicken coop and I'm going to use my pitchfork and I'm going to pile up a layer of compost, put my mixture down, another layer of compost, put my mixture down, another layer of compost, put my mixture down. I'm going to build basically a mini mountain. I'm going to film that as I do it, so you guys hang in here with us and let's watch, and I'll show you the process I'm going to use. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to come back and I'm going to let you know, honestly, whether or not it helped make my compost not as dense. So, you know, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can follow along with me. So you guys see me all ready to go. So I have my sweatband to stop the sweat from getting my eyes. I have my sweat rag so I can mop my face. It gets pretty humid here in Southeast Louisiana. But the point I wanted to make is if you're leaning toward regenerative ag principles, you know, permaculture principles, well, leave no waste is a big principle you need to be focused on when you're farming or gardening. So one of the ways that we're actually not only using all the waste that we make here on our 2-acre farmstead, but we are taking materials that would go into landfills from businesses as well as private citizens and learning to recycle them. One of the things I'm going to be doing is using this torn up cardboard that someone gave me. Now, notice that black strip there for the prime at the top. That's going to be removed before I shred this, okay? Another thing, don't use the glossy cardboard, okay? Now I know if you really want to get all spiffy, you could separate the two. It's a lot of work. I don't have time for it. So that, unfortunately, is going to go back to who gave it to me because I have no use for this. So I use just plain cardboard. Now, the coffee grounds I am sourcing from multiple coffee shops around my area in Southeast Louisiana. So I'm taking like, 50, 60 pounds at a time. If you guys did not catch, look what all the cool gardeners are doing with coffee grounds video, I highly suggest you go watch it. There are so many things that you can do with coffee grounds that will blow your mind. I wanted to show you something. You can use colored cardboard. So if the cardboard that you have is dyed, it's perfectly okay, guys. Most of the dyes used in this day and age are soy-based and they're safe. So they're not made with heavy metal colors, so you're okay, all right? So don't get hung up. You literally will make yourself sick worrying about what toxins you may or may not be bringing in. Just remember that earthworms and red wigglers are very good at removing heavy metal and toxins from soil. That is why we're composting, so that we attract worms and they can worry about cleansing and purifying the soil for us. Well, it's almost halfway full. So there are my used coffee grounds, and I am going to dump all of my shredded paper on top. So I did add some leaves, but I decided not to go too crazy with the leaves because I have decided to add comfrey. Now, comfrey is an accumulator. It will heat the pile up and it will break down, adding extremely important micronutrients and minerals like iron, magnesium, manganese, calcium, phosphorus, nitrogen, potassium, and so many more to my compost. So I'm going to add that in here along with a bunch of weeds that my chickens think are snacks. Look, I have coffee grounds on my base. Okay, so just remember, I am not creating a new compost pile, right? I'm fixing one. I'm trying to make it more light and fluffy, and I guess more like store-bought compost, but I am going to show you guys a clip right here.
It is also very convenient that old plant material from the vegetable garden can be easily thrown over the fence into the composting area. If we then harvest the finished compost, the garden beds are also just a few steps away. All of these simple connections make working a joy, and it is efficient too.
Now what you just saw was exactly what my compost looks like that's made in my chicken coop. So when we use the permaculture principle of capturing energy, when we use the principle of no waste, and we're allowing our chickens to be as close to real chickens as they should be, doing what they were created to do. And guys, I'm going to tell you, there is no better animal in the world to make compost than a chicken. When that happens, we have synergy, right? We have closed loop systems. We have created ways to use energy in new and proficient ways. So their compost looks almost identical to mine. So now I'm not feeling so bad. I'm very glad that I found that clip because it reinforced for me that I am doing the right thing, even though my compost does not look like store-bought compost in any way, shape, or form, nor does it feel like it. It grows all of that. So, I mean, it's provably good compost. Here's a free tip for you guys. When you're designing your coops, your barns, does not matter. Make sure that your tools can fit through your openings. We had that happen on the other chicken coop. The big wheelbarrow, this one could not fit through the door. Big pain in my bottom. All right, what you see behind me is going to be my test area. So this is a really big space full of compost. If I had to guess, several square yards of compost. So what I did was I dug down to the clay soil and I piled up all the compost around that area. Now they're doing a great job of knocking back the compost back in the hole, so I need to hurry. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start layering from the clay up with a layer of my mixture, which is coffee grounds, shredded damp cardboard, comfrey, some leaves, not many, and a whole bunch of their favorite green seeded weeds. Now I'm going to layer a layer of my mixture, a layer of finished compost, a layer of my mixture, a layer of finished compost. And I'm going to leave that for a few weeks, and then I'm going to dig into it and see if it fluffed it up, see if it aerated it a little bit better. Because as you can tell, I mean, it is beautiful, dark compost, but it is very dense, right? Very, very dense. Yep, they're just knocking it right back in the hole for me. Actually, what they're doing are eating all the red wigglers. Watch out. Beep, beep. So what you saw me do was dig the hole, fill it halfway up, cover it with some compost, fill it the rest of the way up, cover it with some compost, put some dead like weeds that they enjoy eating on, and then fill that compost until I made a mound. Now what they're going to do is spend literally the rest of the day digging out all that compost, aerating it. So yeah, it's going to make it fluffier. Getting down to where the fresh weeds and seeds are. They'll dig that out. So basically it's like a food mound for them while they're making for me the best compost that money can buy. I'll let you guys know how it worked with the coffee grounds and stuff. Did it aerate it? Because they're going to mix it all up for me. That's why I did it that way. Chickens are amazing. Now a lot of people are going to ask, won't chicken grounds make them sick? They're not really going to eat that many, guys. There are so many worms and bugs and seeds and green stuff in here for them to eat that they may try a couple of bites of coffee grounds, but they aren't going to eat them. I do this a lot, coffee grounds in my compost, which is in my coop. They don't ever eat enough to make themselves sick. Don't stress over the small stuff. One thing I did want to point out to you guys is this is August of 2023 in Southeast Louisiana. You don't see any mosquitoes. You don't see any flies. You don't see any gnats. Why is that? Because I compost in my coop. Now, I'm out of breath. It's hot out here. I'm by my well. I'm gonna turn my well water on. I'm gonna wet that area down right there, the mound I just made, really well. That's gonna help get everything wet, start the decomposition a little bit quicker. It's gonna heat it up a little faster. The earthworms are gonna move in really quick. Again, another food source for the chickens, decreasing how much money I have to pay in feed. Guys, connect your systems. I cannot express it enough to you guys. I cannot tell you enough how important it is to have multiple systems working together in an integrated circle, a closed loop system. You cannot lose when all your systems benefit from each other, creating the beginning to a new cycle that creates an end, but that end is a beginning to a new cycle. If it never stops, circular motion, you have to figure out what's going to work for you on your property, your garden, your farm, your homestead. You have to figure that out. I can't tell you that. I can only show you what works for me and my thought process behind how I got to here. So what works for me here at Starkey Farmstead simply might not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. That is why I take bits and pieces from all the different techniques, principles, concepts, and I make them work as a unit for for me. When I show you guys something like this, I'm not telling you that this is the only way you can compost. I'm not telling you that this is the best way, and if you don't do it like this, you're dumb. I'm not saying that. I'm trying to show you guys how in the middle, well, the very beginning of August, in 100+ degree temperatures, my chickens are thriving. My chickens are well fed, and I am barely feeding them pelleted feed anymore. If you watch my videos, I'm always moving to be completely self-sufficient. It is not an overnight thing, guys. What works in summer to feed my animals is not what's going to work in winter. That is why I tell you, start somewhere. Start with something. You must start to be able to finish, but don't overload yourself. I didn't start composting with my chickens. I didn't start racking pens when I first got chickens. Like, these are things that we added as we became more proficient in knowledge and wisdom and skills. Okay, so I hope that this really blesses you guys. I hope that you're understanding the concept and the thought processes as to why you saw me do what I just did. Like, if you can understand that, then you can take what you learned and mimic it, mimic the knowledge in whatever system that you need to build. Cattle, goats, rabbits, whatever it is. Like, if you understand what I tried to show you here, it wasn't as simple as me digging a hole and filling it full of coffee grounds, leaves, and comfrey. That was not the point. The point was creating compost that was lighter and fluffier while feeding my chickens for free. So God bless you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for rowing in our boats. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that notification bells.